Good morning, class. Okay, good morning. May I join everyone to please stand up as I call Elmarie to lead us a short prayer. Amen. Please have a seat. And again, good morning, class. Good morning. Okay, I hope you're doing good. Okay, that's great to hear. And I think you are all present today except for someone whose chair is vacant right now. Okay, may I know, class, whose chair is that? Yes, Jane? It's Joyce. Okay, why? Okay, she's sick right now. Okay, she's sick. May I have her excuse letter, please? Thank you so much, Jane. Okay, other than Joy, are more classmates who are not with us today, class? Okay, nothing more, no more. Okay, that's great. Okay, now, are you now excited to learn a new lesson for today, class? Are you now excited to listen? Okay, but before that, I want you all to please stand up, pick up the letters, and quietly arrange your chairs. In 10 seconds, you will have done that. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, thank you so much, class. Please have a seat. Okay. But before we start, I'd like to ask you this question, class. Class, do you think that it is our nature as humans to make simple things complicated? Maybe. Okay, maybe. Okay. I asked that, class, because you know what? I just reflect that even me, even I sometimes do this. I overthink about simple things, and then I am unaware, I am not conscious that it gets more and more complex. Just a simple thing, simple problem, but because I overthink about it a lot, it becomes complicated. So much for that, class. Okay, so much for that. Now I'd like you to count yourselves from 1 to 4, starting with Riza. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, equally distributed. Now, I'd like you to stand up, bring with you your bags, and quietly go to the place or the designated area I will be telling you, okay? Okay. Okay, for our group 1, please stay in the first 3 rows at the left, okay? Group 2, please proceed to the 3 rows behind the group 1 members. Okay, group 3, please occupy the first 3 rows at the right, please, in front. Okay, and then for our group 4, please, you stay right behind group 3 and you occupy those vacant seats. Okay, thank you, class. That will be your groupings all throughout this session. Am I clear, class? Okay, yes, sir. Thank you. Now, I know that you're excited with our lesson for today, but before that, we will have a game first. Okay, this game is to set your mood as we approach our lesson for today. And I know this will boost your excitement even more. Okay, but before that, I'd like to ask you if you are familiar with the game 4 Picks, 1 Word. Are you familiar with it, class? Yes, okay, you're familiar with it. That's great. Because that will be the game that we are going to have right now. And I just did some modify. I just did modify it, and so I call it 2 clues, 1 word. Okay. Sir, what's the mechanics? Good question. The mechanics will be There will be two clues for every jumbled letters that will be presented or that will be flashed on screen. All you have to do is to guess the jumbled letters and try to identify the hidden words behind these jumbled letters. Of course, with the help of the two clues that I have provided for each word. Okay, are you now ready, class? Yes, that's great. But I know that all of you would like to participate later on. But because I wanted you to have an equal chance or equal opportunity to answer later on, I have prepared here numbers with your names written behind them. Okay? Your names are written behind those numbers. And what we are going to do is to pick one name for each word in the order for him or her to answer or to give her guess about our game. Okay, but before that, let me first pick our first to answer. Okay, I have picked Rita. Rita, please stand up and guess our first word. Here is your clue. I start with letter C with another consonant letter following me. If you pronounce the opposite of open, you can easily know me. Rita, what's your guess? Close, close. Let's see. Class, do you think Rita is correct? Let's see. Okay. Close. Okay, Rita is correct. Let's clap for her, class. It's close. Okay, for our next word, I would like to call Rita to go here in front and pick the next name who will be answering this item. Okay, so Rita has picked Annalyn. Okay, Annalyn. Annalyn, here are your two clues for these jumbled letters. I start with S and end with E. You'll need a subject and a predicate to compose them. Annalyn, may I know or may we know what's your guess for this? Sentence. Okay, sentence. Class, do you think Annalyn is correct? Maybe. Okay, maybe. I don't think so. Yes, sir. Okay, let's see. Okay, the correct word or the correct hidden word is sentence. And so, Annalyn is right. Okay, very good, Annalyn. Next. For the third word, I'd like you, Annalyn, to please choose a number so that we will know the name behind it. Okay, two. Let's proceed. Okay, the name behind number 2 is Angelica. Okay, Angelica, please stand up and guess this word. I also start with S and end with E. An ample sample of apple will help you guess me. Yes, Angelica, what's your guess? Okay, I think Angelica is having a hard time. Okay, Angelica, I'd like to give you a chance. You pick a number so that the name behind that number will be the one to help you. Okay, you chose 8. Okay, the one who will help Angelica guess the third word will be melody. Melody, please stand up. Okay, and guess this word. I also start with S and end with E. An ample sample of apple will help you guess me. Melody, what's your guess? Simple. Let's see. Simple is correct, class. Let's clap for Melody. Okay, thank you so much, Melody. But before you take your seat, please choose another number so that we will know who will be the one to answer for the fourth word. Okay, you have chosen number 15. Okay, the name behind number 15 is Jordan. Okay, Jordan, please stand up and guess this one. I start and end with consonants. I can be correctly found if you pronounce round, bound, and sound. Again, I start and end with consonants. I can be correctly found if you pronounce round, bound, and sound. Jordan, what's your guess? Compound. Okay, let's see. Class, do you think Jordan got the correct answer? Yes, sir. Okay, let's see. It's compound. Very good, Jordan. Excellent guess. Okay, and of course, for our last word, Jordan, please pick a number. Number 7. Jordan chose number 7. And so, number 7, behind this number is the name of John Lowy. Okay, John Lowy, please stand up and guess our last word. The opposite of the third word, simple, is me. Context is a close word if you try to pronounce me. Jordan, John Lowy, what's your guess? Complex. Class, do you think John Lowy got the correct answer? Okay, let's see if it is complex. Right, it's complex, class. Very good, John Lowy. Let's clap for him, class. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. That's the end of our first activity. I'd like to ask you now, class. How did you find our activity, our first activity? It's hard. It's enjoyable. It's thrilling. Okay, that's great. But I know you have enjoyed it, although you were thrilled. Am I right, class? Okay. One more thing is that I appreciate your participation, but I'd like to see that continue as we go along with our lesson. Can I expect that, class? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, class, with the activity that we have just undergone, I'd like to ask you now this question. Based from that activity, do you have now any picture in mind about the topic that we are going to tackle today? Yes, Harold. Kinds of sentences. That's an on-point guess, Harold. Today, we are going to tackle about the 4 kinds of sentences and their punctuation. Before we proceed to the PowerPoint presentation, who can give me at least one of the 4 kinds of sentences? I know you have tackled about it in your lower years. Yes, Elmarie, simple sentence. That's great, simple sentence. Another one, please. Yes, Edith. Compound sentence. That's great. Okay, class. Elmarie and Edith have already given the 2 kinds of sentences. And we will know more about the 2 when we go along with our PowerPoint presentation. But before the PowerPoint presentation, let us first have a review. Sentences can be of 4 kinds depending on the clauses or on the clause they contain. May I know what are the 2 main types of clauses, class? Yes, Angel? That's great, Angel. The 2 main types of clauses are first, independent or main clause, and second, subordinate or dependent clause. Now, who would like to differentiate those 2 clauses we have just known? Yes, Marty. Very good, Marty. Class, as Marty has just said, an independent clause or a main clause contains a subject, a verb, and a complete thought, while a subordinate or dependent clause contains only a subject and a verb, but with no complete thought. Now, I asked you the difference of those clauses because those clauses are essential to the topic we are going to tackle right now. Okay, let's proceed. But first, we will have to know our learning objectives first. So here are our learning objectives. Number one, or first, at the end of the lesson, students or you must be able to first describe simple, compound, complex, and compound complex sentences. Second, tell how simple, compound, complex, and compound complex sentences are constructed. Third, construct examples of simple, compound, complex, and compound complex sentences. Fourth, classify sentences to simple, compound, complex, or compound complex sentence kinds. And lastly, to connect the four kinds of sentences to real-life scenarios. Okay, are we clear about our learning objectives, class? Yes, that's great. Now, let's proceed to our discussion. Okay, let me present my screen first, or my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, kinds of sentences and their punctuation. Let's have the first kind. Mayan, please read the first slide. Thank you so much, Mayan. So, as Mayan has just read, a simple sentence is composed of one independent clause. Okay? Here is an example. Tom reads novels. So this sentence is a simple sentence. Tom reads novels. So a simple sentence is composed of only one independent clause. And when we say independent clause, it is composed of a subject, a verb, and a complete thought. And so our example, the subject is Tom, reads is our verb, and the sentence itself expresses a complete thought that Tom reads novels. But sir, what about the punctuation mark or the punctuation note for this simple sentence? Here it is plus. The punctuation note applies when a sentence of simple kind has two subjects, two verbs, or any other two compound elements that come in the sentence. This means that no commas are used to separate them. So we have here examples for you to better understand this. Example number one, Tom reads and enjoys novels. So for this sentence, there are compound verbs which are reads and enjoys. And so we see that no comma is used to separate them. And that's how the punctuation note for this simple sentence kind applies. We also have Tom and Harry read novels. For this, there are compound subjects, Tom and Harry, and no comma is used to separate them. And then third, Tom and Harry read and enjoy novels. For this, we see that two compound elements are present. We have subject and verb. And so there is still no comma that's being used to separate them. And that's how the punctuation note for this simple sentence kind applies. Now, we have known the simple sentence kind. Who would like to give his or her example about simple sentence? Yes, Joy? Okay, Joy's example is I love my mom. Joy, can you tell us what's the subject and what's the verb for that sentence, I love my mom, and what makes it a simple sentence? Okay, I is the subject, love is the verb, and okay, very good, Joy. It is a simple sentence because It expresses a complete thought and it is composed of only one independent clause. I know you now understand our first kind of sentence. Am I right, class? Yes, that's great. And so we have to proceed to our second sentence kind. Second kind of sentence, compound sentence. I would like Marites to read this slide. Thank you so much, Marites. Okay, according to as what Marites has said, compound sentence has two independent clauses joined by, okay, there are three ways that the compound sentence is written. First, a coordinating conjunction. So what are the coordinating conjunctions that we have in English class? Just remember the fun boys for the coordinating conjunctions, okay? So the fun boys stand for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Fun boys. Next, the second way to write a compound sentence is through a conjunctive adverb. So what are the conjunctive adverbs that we have in English? We have, for example, however, therefore, moreover, consequently, as a result, and a lot more. And the last way or the last pattern to write a compound sentence is by just a semicolon alone. Okay? For us to better understand this, let's take a look at these three punctuation patterns to write a compound sentence. First pattern, we have independent, comma, coordinating conjunction, and another independent clause. Another one, independent clause, semicolon, conjunctive adverb, comma, and another independent clause. For the third pattern, we have independent and then just a semicolon alone, and then another independent clause. So here are the examples. For the first pattern, Tom reads novels, but Jack reads comics. Okay, who would like to analyze or to tell how this word or how this compound sentence example is formed? Yes, AJ. That's great, AJ. Okay, this compound sentence example is written with the help of the first pattern. So our first pattern is independent clause, comma, coordinating conjunction, and another independent clause. So as we can see, there are two independent clauses present here. First, we have Tom reads novels, and another one, Jack reads comics. They are joined by the coordinating conjunction but. Okay? Next, we have the second example. Tom reads novels, semicolon, however, comma, Jack reads comics. Okay. Now, who can tell or who can share how this sample compound sentence is written? Yes, Marisol? Thank you so much, Marisol. According to Marisol class, it is written with the second pattern that we have just read earlier. And so, we analyze it. First, we have Tom reads novels. Tom reads novels is an independent clause. And another independent clause is Jack reads comics. So, they form a compound sentence because they are being joined together by a semicolon, however, and a comma. Is that clear, class? Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And for the last example, we have here Tom reads novels, semicolon. His friend reads comics. Now class, what can you say about this third example of how compound sentence is written? Yes, RC? Okay. Very good, RC. This compound sentence example is written only with the help of a semicolon alone. Okay, and so we notice another two independent clauses for this third example. First, Tom reads novels. Another, his friend reads comics. And so, joined together by a semicolon alone, this sentence is a compound sentence. Now, who can tell me or who can construct an example of a compound sentence written in any of the three patterns? Yes, Jack. Okay, according to Jack, I love my mom. She cooks my breakfast every day. Okay, so Jack's sentence is a compound sentence. Do you agree, class? Yes, okay. But what makes this sentence a compound one? Yes, Harold. Yes, that's true. It has two independent clauses joined by just a semicolon alone. And so, the example of Jack is correct. It is a compound sentence. Now, class, is it clear to you now? Is the compound sentence kind clear to you now? Very good. Thank you so much, class. Next, we proceed to our third sentence kind. Our third sentence kind is complex sentence. And I would like to call Anthony to please read the third kind of sentence. Thank you so much, Anthony. So class, as Anthony has just read, complex sentence is composed of one dependent clause and an independent clause. Okay, we also have to note that the dependent clause has to be attached or joined to the independent clause. Okay, now, what are the patterns or the ways that a complex sentence is written? But before that, by the way, class, if we try to compare the compound sentence or the complex sentence with that of the second kind, which is the compound sentence, we notice that the compound sentence is composed of two independent clauses. But in the complex sentence, it's still composed of two clauses, but with different type. Okay, we have independent clause and dependent clause or subordinate clause. And so we proceed to the punctuation patterns of how complex sentences are written. First, dependent clause, comma, independent clause. Second, independent clause, and then dependent clause. Third, independent, comma, non-essential dependent clause, comma, and clause. And lastly, independent, essential, dependent clause, and clause. For you to better understand this, we have here examples for each of them. For the first way to write a complex sentence, here is our example. Although Tom reads novels, comma, Jack reads comics. Okay? Now, why do you think that the first example is a complex sentence? Yes, Lita. Very good, Lita. You got it right. It is a complex sentence because it is composed of two clauses. First, the independent clause, and second, the dependent clause. To be more precise, our dependent clause is although Tom reads novels, and our independent clause is Jack reads comics. Okay, class? As we have just known earlier, as read by one of your classmates, a dependent clause in a complex sentence is headed by a subordinating conjunction or a relative pronoun that can be nominal, adverbial, and adjectival joined to an independent clause. And here, in our example, we see that we have a subordinating conjunction here. It's although, which introduces our dependent clause. Although Tom reads novels in this example. Okay, is it clear to you, class? Thank you so much. Next, for our second example for the complex sentence, Jack reads comics although Tom reads novels. Now, who would like to tell me the difference between or the difference of how the second complex sentence example is written differently from the first sentence example that we have? Yes, Jordan. That's great, Jordan. In our second example, we see that no comma is used to separate the dependent clause from the independent clause. Okay? Jack reads comics, although Tom reads novels. No comma is present here. And so, we proceed to our third example. Jack Smith, comma, who reads comics, rarely reads novels. Now, class, we see that the third pattern in writing a complex sentence is applied here. Okay, let's see. So we see that there are two clauses present in this example. First is dependent clause. Jack Smith, who reads comics, rarely reads novels. So our dependent clause is who reads comics, introduced by the relative pronoun who. And then our independent clause to complete this compound sentence will be Jack Smith rarely reads novels. Is that clear now, class? Yes, thank you so much. And so we proceed with our last example. People who read comics rarely read novels. Now, who would like to tell how the last compound sentence example is written differently from the third sentence example? Yes, Annalie. Precisely. Correct. That's correct, Annalyn. Okay. According to Annalyn, if we try to look at the difference between how the third sentence example is written differently from the fourth sentence example, we see that the non-essential clause in the third example became an essential clause in the fourth or last example that we have. And so there are two clauses present in the last example. And of course, it would be dependent clause and independent clause because we are talking about complex sentence. And so I'd like to call someone who will share us or who will digest to us this sentence and tell us what's the independent clause and what's the dependent clause present in here. Yes, Michael. Very good, Michael. Michael is correct, class. Our independent clause is people rarely read novels. And our dependent clause, or the one that's just being attached to our independent clause, is people who read comics. Again, it is introduced, or it is with the presence of the relative pronoun who. Class, I'd like to ask you now, is the third sentence kind clear to you now? Yes. Do you understand it now? Yes. Are you sure? That's great. You are sure. You understand it now. So we proceed with our last sentence kind. Our last sentence kind is a compound complex sentence. And now I'd like to call Emmeline to read to us the fourth kind of sentence. Thank you so much, Emmeline. Please take your seat. Okay, our last kind of sentence is compound complex sentence. According to Emmeline, it has two independent clauses joined to one or more dependent clauses. Okay, now, if in our complex sentence kind, we notice two clauses, the dependent and independent clause. Here, in our last sentence kind, we also notice two clauses, the independent and dependent clauses. But the difference is that the last sentence kind, the compound complex sentence, is composed of two independent clauses joined to one or more dependent clauses. That means that we have at least three clauses present in here. Two independent clauses and one dependent clause. Now, the punctuation patterns. If we punctuate, if we write compound complex sentences, we just follow the punctuation rules or punctuation patterns of how the second and the third kinds of sentences are written. I am referring to the compound and complex sentence. Okay? We just have to follow the punctuation notes of how they are written in order to compose or to write a compound complex sentence. Is it clear, class? Thank you. And so we have our examples. For the first example, while Tom reads novels, Jack reads comics, but Sam reads only magazines. Okay, class, in this example of compound complex sentence, there are two independent clauses present, as well as one dependent clause. So let's try to see these clauses. Our first independent clause is Jack reads comics. And our second independent clause is Sam reads only magazines. Meanwhile, the dependent clause here is while Tom reads novels. And so, we can see that our dependent clause is introduced by a subordinating conjunction while. And so, that makes it a compound complex sentence. It has two independent clauses and one dependent clause. Next, for number 2, please read our second example, Micaela. Thank you so much, Micaela. Please take your seat. Okay. Now, who would like to tell us or to tell to me the clauses present in this second example? And what are those clauses? Yes, John. Thank you so much, John. Please take your seat. So, according to John, the clauses present in here are independent and dependent clauses. That's true. And he also shared that the first clause is independent. Tom reads novels. He's right. He also said that the second clause present in this example is still independent. Jack reads comics. Okay, now we have two independent clauses. And according to him, there is another one dependent clause. Because books are too difficult. And so we have two independent clauses and one dependent clause with this example. And that makes it very good compound complex sentence, we also have to notice that the dependent clause is introduced by a subordinating conjunction because class, is the last sentence kind clear to you now? Yes, sir, that's great. Yes, sir, okay. I'd like you now to compose a sentence of this kind. May I call Leonard? Yes, Leonard, please stand up and share us your sentence. Thank you so much, Leonard. Okay. The sentence of Leonard is, I love my mom. He cares for me even if I am a hard-headed person. Okay, let's digest that in order for us to know the clauses present in here, and in order for us to know if what makes this sentence of Leonard a compound complex one. First, I love my mom. What clause do you think is that sentence? I love my mom. Independent clause. Very good. That's an independent clause. And then another one. She cares for me. She cares for me. What clause is that? Do you think? What clause is that? She cares for me. What clause is that? Yes? Okay, another independent clause. That's great. It's independent clause. And then the last one will be dependent clause. Our dependent clause is even if I am a hard-headed one. That dependent clause, if we have noticed, is introduced by a subordinating conjunction, even if. That's great. Leonard's answer is correct. It's a compound complex sentence. Please take your seat, Leonard. So are the four kinds of sentences clear to you now, class? That's great to hear. Is there any question or are there any queries, clarifications you would like me to answer? No more? Okay, that's good to hear, and I know you really have understood our lesson for today. This time, we will play another game. We will have another activity. So this activity is called Pass It and I'll Answer. But before that, I'd like you to arrange your chairs in a box shape and you stay right in front of each of your chairs. Is it clear? Okay, go ahead and please do it with no unnecessary noise. I do not like to hear any unnecessary noise. So please do it quietly. Don't drag your chairs to prevent distractive noise. And we will have to start now the activity. Okay, thank you so much. You are now settled. Now, I have here a paper ball. Sir, what's with that paper ball? The mechanics of the game or the activity will be this. This paper ball that I am holding will be passed to one of you. And then the one who caught it will also be passing this ball to his or her classmates. Okay? You just pass it and pass it and pass it until one of you fails to catch it. And sir, what are we going to do to that someone who failed to catch it? Okay, this is it. For that one who fails to catch it, we will task him or her to answer the question that I will be giving him or her. Is that clear? Okay, that's great. And so, I'm going to pass it now. Okay, Lita failed to catch our paper ball. And so, Lita, please stand up and answer my question. Lita, please tell us what is a simple sentence and what is the punctuation note for writing a simple sentence kind. Thank you so much, Lita. That's great. According to Lita, a simple sentence is a sentence that has one independent clause. And our punctuation pattern is no comma is used to separate compound elements present in a simple sentence. Thank you so much, Lita. Now let's go ahead. Let's continue. Please pass that paper ball to your classmates. Okay, Macy failed to catch the paper ball. Macy, please stand. Now, Macy, I'd like you to tell us what the second kind of sentence is and enumerate the three patterns or three ways that sentence kind is written. Thank you so much, Macy. Class, according to Macy, our second sentence kind is a compound sentence. Is she right? Yes, she's right. And according to her also, the three patterns in writing a compound sentence is first an independent clause, comma, coordinating conjunction, and another independent clause. Second, an independent clause, semicolon, a subordinating conjunction, comma, and another independent clause. And lastly, an independent clause, semicolon alone, and another independent clause. Precisely. Great, Macy. Let's clap for her class. Okay, now, for the third to answer, please pass on that paper ball, Macy. Okay, we have Mayan. Mayan, you failed to catch the paper ball, and so I'm going to ask you this question. Mayan, what is our third sentence kind? And please tell us, or please share us, the 4 ways of writing that sentence. Thank you so much, Mayan, for taking the challenge, okay? According to Mayan, our third sentence kind is a complex sentence. And according to her also, the 4 ways or the 4 patterns in writing the complex sentence are first, dependent clause, comma, independent clause. Second, independent clause and then dependent clause. Third, independent, comma, non-essential dependent clause, comma, and then clause. And lastly, independent, non-essential dependent clause, and then clause. Great job, Mayan. Now, Mayan, please pass on that ball and let's see who is next to answer. Okay, Fairy Ann failed to catch the ball. Fairy Ann, please stand up and here is your question. Fairy Ann, what is the last sentence kind? And how do we write or how do we punctuate this last sentence kind? Okay, thank you so much, Fairy Ann. According to Fairy Ann class, our last sentence kind is a compound complex sentence. And according to her also, in order to write a compound complex sentence, we have to follow the punctuation notes of the second and third sentence kinds, which are the compound sentence and the complex sentence. And so, if we are going to write a compound complex sentence, we have to take note of how the compound and complex sentence kinds are written. And so that's the end of our game, our second game class. Now I'd like you to go back to your proper seats and arrange your seats now. Okay, please arrange your chairs, go back to your proper seats, and do it quietly. Please don't drag your chairs again, okay, please. Do not make any unnecessary noise, okay, okay. Thank you. Earlier class, I told you that we humans tend to make simple things complicated. And so these simple problems become more and more complex and complicated. And we get to stress ourselves thinking about the solutions for them. But I'd like you to take note that just as how the punctuation marks, punctuation patterns, and punctuation notes, and even the connectors, the coordinating conjunctions, the subordinating conjunctions, give clarity to how our four sentence kinds are written, and in order for these four sentence kinds to express clear thoughts, in life, we also have solutions to our problems. Although these solutions may come simple, but still, they mean a lot in order to solve our problems, no matter how simple, how complex, or how compound complex to say that complicated those problems are, there can always be solutions to them. Understood, class? Okay, I hope you will take note of that. Okay, it is time to know if you really or if you truly understood our lesson. I have here another activity, but before that, let me get these two boxes here. And earlier, I have grouped you into four, right? And so I need one representative for each group to pick their task and the topic that will be assigned to them. Okay, may I know, class, the chosen or the picked topic as well as the picked task for each group? Okay, for group 1, we have poverty and essay. Okay, they have picked poverty and essay. Group 2 have picked climate change and jingle or song. And then group 3, you have picked hunger as well as role play. And for the last group, you have picked calamities and poem. Now class, with the task as well as the topic that you're holding right now, what can you say about those topics, class? Yes, Elmarie. That's right, Elmaria. They are our world's largest, biggest, or most complex problems. And so, sir, what are we going to do right now? Here is our directions for the activity. With your designated task, present your own simple ways on how you can help mitigate the impacts, if not fully prevent the occurrence of the world problems given to you. Be sure to make use of the 4 different kinds of sentences in your dialogues for the role play, paragraphs for the essay, stanzas for the poem, and jingle or song. And in order to guide you in making your activity or in doing your activity, let's see our criteria here. For the criteria, creativity will be 20%, relevance to the topic 25%, conciseness of sentence kinds used 30%, and lastly, overall presentation 25% to make it all in all 100%. Okay, I am giving you 20 minutes to accomplish those tasks, and please work collaboratively with your groupmates. If there are any queries, just approach me. Again, congratulations to all of you. Job well done, class. Please give yourselves 5 loud claps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, congratulations for that job well done activity, class. And I know you have truly understood our lesson for today. But we still have another activity. Sir, another activity? Yes, another activity. This time it's individual. I want you to bring out 1/2 sheet of crosswise paper and answer this flashed activity. All you have to do in your 1/2 sheet crosswise of paper is to classify whether each item is a simple, compound, complex, or compound, complex sentence. Okay? I am giving you 10 minutes. I think 10 minutes is enough for you to accomplish it. Okay, time is up. Please pass your papers and let's check it. Now, please pass your papers forward, and those who are in front, please pass it towards the left, and I'll get it from Mark. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, have good scores. Perfect. 9/10, 8, 9. Perfect. Okay, class, I'm very glad to see those high scores of yours. And that means that you have truly understood our lesson for today. Okay, I am giving you an assignment. But before that assignment, let us first know if we have learned or if we have achieved our learning objectives that we have introduced earlier. Did we achieve learning objective A? That's true. We also achieved learning objective B and C, as well as D and E, since we have connected 4 kinds of sentences to real life scenarios or situations, just as what you have done in the group activity you had earlier. And so, for your assignment class, in your English notebook, sustain the absent punctuation marks for each item, then write before the number what kind of sentence is each item. Is it clear, class? Is there any question or are there any queries? Yes, John Paul? Where are you going to put this assignment? Class, you just put it in your notebook and we will check it tomorrow. Are there any more questions, clarifications, or queries? None so far. No more. Nothing more. That's great to hear. And so, may I call on Jane for this time to lead us a closing prayer. Amen. Thank you so much, Jane. And again, thank you so much, class, for your active participation. I truly appreciate it, and I hope to see that active participation in the coming or in the next days. Can I expect that, class? Yes, thank you so much for the response. Again, goodbye and see you next meeting. God bless and you keep safe. Goodbye, class.